Call to order Schenectady City Council Committee meeting for Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025. We're going to begin with a presentation by our engineer, Chief Chris Wallen.
Thank you. Due to the length of the agenda and all that, I would just, not going to be a presentation, public information meeting, talk about the presentation. So as you see in your legislative request form, I have the background summary there. So what we did is, this, as part of the Infrastructure Act a couple of years ago, there was a Safe Streets for All SS4A grant that came out through the DOTs. Our MPO, the Capital Region Transportation Council, applied for one for the region, which we participated in. So they held the agreement with the consultant, and we were a participant in that. What they did was they looked at crash hotspots in the communities, in each community. To Schenectady's credit, they actually came and we met, and I believe Alex was at the meeting as well, and they came through and they said, here's a list of the hotspots. Crane Street, Albany Street, State Street, Erie Boulevard. We went through and we went down and said, we did a Crane Street linkage study. We have an Albany Street project. We have an Erie Boulevard project. So we actually are working on most of what their list was, but one of the streets was also Eastern Avenue. Eastern Avenue's seen a lot of development in various ways and also a lot of change. So we decided to focus on Eastern Avenue. So the study area was Eastern Avenue from Knott Terrace up to Elmer Avenue. That area, like I said, has gone through a lot of changes, and what it is hard, I'll just try to be as brief as possible with it, is for people today to understand why certain things existed who might not have been here 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 40 years ago. So if you were to drive the corridor, you would find two traffic lights on the corridor, one at Irving and one at Elmer. Both of those lights were installed when there were two active elementary schools. So we had a school at St. Mary's, we had a school at Elmer Avenue. The schools have changed, the neighborhood has changed, but the signals remain. So part of this was looking, are those signals actually warranted? And to bring something into more perspective would be over at Becker and Brandywine. We had an automobile accident that took out a signal right at that intersection. I'm working with our signal superintendent, who is not a local person, and we're trying, and he's looking through and he's saying, this signal really doesn't make a lot of sense. I said, well, what you don't know is where the parking lot is, where it seems like a very odd, large parking lot, that was a school. So this is another signal that was put in during the school. So we are looking at putting something back at that intersection that might not be a signal. We're looking at a different rapid flashing beacon, something else that you can cross the street. But as the city changes, we don't need to develop it the way that it was 40 years ago or 20 years ago. So that is what this is. We will be holding, and I will leave these out, even though this was also read. We are holding a virtual meeting. This is the preferred venue for this type of project. They've done virtual meetings for the Albany project, the Saratoga project. So this is Schenectady's. It's a week from now, virtually Tuesday, September 9th, 5:30 to 7. And we'll be discussing two concepts that we have. The first concept is fairly simple to implement and requires new crosswalks at certain areas, painting some new crosswalks where we see a lot of pedestrian activity, the removal of those signals, installation of rapid flashing beacons and things, because if you were to live in the St. Mary's converted, that's a timed signal. It's not even actuated. You just wait. And I've never videoed it. We don't want to, but people might not wait just because they're there. And then you get into are people actually paying attention to the signals? And that actually, from colleagues of mine who work at engineering areas in the DOT, they've actually noted those signals as being just completely outdated. Same thing with Elmer Avenue. Elmer Avenue is actually green for the entirety until you activate it on Elmer, and then it will go into a flash system. So now that it's not there, now it is a senior housing, is that really necessary? And then the second option, which is the more, to a consultant, the more alluring option, is to actually turn Eastern Avenue into a one-way street from Knott Terrace to essentially Rankin. And the idea with something like that is if you were to do that, then you could take that real estate, that second, and you could implement a bike lane for both. And then you would have a neighborhood bike lane, and you would still use Union Street as your two-way, and most streets then we'd have to, the side streets would have to be looked at. But it gives you a lot of opportunity, parking on one side, bike lane on one side, and then the traffic one way up. But that is the interesting concept. I think it does have some merit, and I would look to hear from people on the corridor of what they think of it. The corridor has changed quite a bit. We do have quite a bit of blocks in between that you would be able to get on and off of it. The bike lane would be two-way, just to make sure it wouldn't be just up. With that, it would be an actual two-way bike lane. And then there's multiple ways to do it. You could do it the way that we're looking on Craig Street, which is a completely separated raised bike lane, or you could do it just through striping, which is similar to what we did on Washington Avenue with a bright painted or a delineated thing. Lane up the side. So that's what we'll be discussing on September 9th. There is no implementation money. This is something that, just like the Crane Street projects and Albany Street and that, this is gonna, it's a study. I know people sometimes get frustrated with studies because it took us a very long time to implement Craig Street. That's a $13 million project. This isn't that, but we also have to work together as the council, development, engineering, and the mayor's office to see what are our priorities. If the reviews of something like this are positive and we think that there is a way to implement a one-way cheaply with paint and we really think it'll have a positive on the community, we could do that. If we think that it's positive but we want to do this separated, well, now we're talking about a multiple seven-figure job, and then we'd have to go after funding. But do we want to do that, or do we want to work on Albany Street? We really have to weigh where we are. I don't know how public works projects fit into the comprehensive plan that we're working on, but that's something that we do have going on right now, is this comprehensive plan for the entire city. And I'm hoping that there's a little bit dedicated to the direction of public works and where we put our money. But this is where we are. If you have any questions, you can ask me now, or I encourage everybody to attend virtually in a week. Okay. Now we're going to leave these on the counter outside the clerk's office, and then we're going to be posting it. I believe there was already a press release, so everything's going to be going through with the mayor's office and the CRTC going forward, just for publicity. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Our first committee is claims.
So I'd like to call to order the Claims Committee. We have 2 items on the agenda tonight with the inclusion of the New Leaf Energy letter of intent to negotiate. At the mayor's request, that was in city development and planning previously. I believe all 3 of those items need to be discussed in executive session. So may I have a motion? I will second. All those in favor? Aye. We are now in executive session.
And members of the public will have to leave. We will be going back into public session after this.
Okay, I would like to call to order the Finance Committee, and the first item is Grant Award, New York State Highway Safety Program. And we have it on the Chief Clifford. There is the representative.
Almost too short.
Chief Clifford.
Good evening. I'm not quite Chief Clifford, Lieutenant Scott Laveroach. So tonight, here to present that the City of Schenectady Police Department has been awarded $45,600 in state funding from the Governor's Traffic Safety Committee, GTSC. They're in partnership with DMV. This is for, I lost my place. The Highway Safety Program. Basically, they're in sum and substance, their initiative enrolls to reduce the number of crashes, injuries, and deaths on New York's roadways. So what this money does, we've been a recipient of this grant for multiple years. Ultimately, in a nutshell, this is just a supplement to our already daily traffic enforcement efforts. This kind of gives us a little bit of flexibility with some directed attention and patrol to certain areas. If we're getting certain complaints in different areas, it allowed us to supplement the efforts of the speed limit change when that took place, and obviously we'll continue to do so. There's also money set aside for training to attend yearly conferences, DRE training, the drug recognition expert, things of that nature. And then it also funds specifically, there's a breakdown in there for certain initiatives that the state holds throughout the year, like Click It or Ticket, distracted driving. You've all heard of these before. So during those times, whether they're months, weeks, whatever, certain monies are allotted specifically just for that, and it's all in the breakdown under this. There's an education portion of this during pedestrian safety. Typically what we'll do is we'll send out officers to just educate people, educate pedestrians in some of the high traffic pedestrian areas with just pamphlets, like, notifying them that either they were in the wrong or the driver was in the wrong, giving them proper documentation and education on the laws, and just sending them on their way without any tickets, just more of a verbal warning. So there's pieces in place for that.
Any questions?
Not a question, but a comment. I mean, I really appreciate that the police department is getting so many of these grants. And in particular, I appreciate this one because it will add to some of the other traffic calming measures that we've been talking about and putting into place. So,
Lieutenant Dolan, who's in charge of that division, there's more on the docket. They just haven't been decided on yet. So,
thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, may I have a motion to move this item forward?
So moved.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Thank you.
thank you all.
The next item is amended and restated bond ordinance for the Washington Avenue Pump Station and the Water Resource Recovery Facility. Mr. Derrick.
Hello, good evening. We are looking to amend and restate the Washington Avenue Pump Station and the Water Resource Recovery Facility. As you can see in the analysis, we're looking to increase that by approximately $7.6 million to a maximum cost of $29 million approximately. We're requesting that the council approve this. It was originally adopted on July 10, 2023, so we're looking to just continue the process. If you need further information, I do have Commissioner O'Fallon with me here to discuss any details with you.
Any questions, comments? Go ahead, please.
So since we adopted this in 2023, and my question essentially is, it's 2 years, and if you just can clarify why we're at this point now, and where is the work that's being done? Where are we with that?
Okay. You had sent a couple questions, so I'll try and answer them. If that's okay?
Oh, sure.
Sure. What are the projects entail? Okay, well, there's two projects: the Washington Avenue Pump Station and the WRF, which is the wastewater treatment plant that full pumps. What this is going to do is help with the resiliency program and increase the redundancy the city's infrastructure to reduce the inflow to the treatment plant. And that's going to be done by the old Washington Avenue Pump House, which is the round building that sits over by Schenectady College. That has been unfunctioning for years. Okay, it will help with the flooding issues there. It will reduce the flow going to the wastewater treatment plant, and it'll be part of the climate vulnerability adoption report that was done for the city. Now the river pumps, because the wastewater treatment plant now takes more flow in to the plant. The river pumps were put in 1972. They were designed to take roughly 30-some million gallons out of the plant when there's flooding. Well, we now receive up to almost 50 million gallons. So in the times of flooding, when the river is high, we force feed the river. On normal days, we gravity feed the river. Water comes in, gravity flows out. But if there's a storm and the river comes up, we have to force feed the river. So that means we have to activate river pumps to come on. So the river pumps currently that are there are inadequate because they won't pump the flow that's coming into the plant nowadays. So they were installed, like I said, it was with money on the Clean Water Act in 1972. So they're from 1972, so they'll be upgraded to as part of this. The second project was the Royce Road treatment plant, the water wells, and that would be phase 2. And that's the next phase of the development of Royce Road is the capital improvement plan utilized. And we put 3 wells in a couple years ago. So this project is 2 phases. The wells were put in, the well houses are being installed now with some of the piping. In phase 2, the $300,000 increase, we will apply for bond money. It does have to be applied for in September this month. So we do have some money out there. We will put in on the grant application. We were not awarded grant money for that. First time around, we were awarded over $1 million to put the wells in. We were awarded almost $950,000 to do the fluoridation system. So we did have grant money for that. So we will be applying for more grant money to help with the $300,000 difference there. As for the Washington Avenue pump station and the effluent pump station, the increase for $7 million is because we've been awarded $26 million in grants. So we will maximize the expenditure by increasing the bond to match those. Out of that $26 million that we've already awarded, we're responsible for 25% of the $10 million grant, which is $2.5 million, and the closing costs on the loan. But that loan, because we'll be we'll get 0 interest on the loan. So that $27 million, we're only responsible for $2.5 million and at 0%. And that will be part of the Washington Avenue pump station and the WRRF, which is the river pumps. So we have fully, grant money for that up to, like I said, other than $2.5 million. The projects you would ask when they would be starting. Here somewhere, just bear with me. Washington Avenue Pump Station, that is the design now. It should be bid in '26, pending regulatory review and approval. I'll have to go through their part of it. The work is anticipated to be completed by December of '27. The Rice Road project, the city is presently finishing construction on phase 1 improvements at the water treatment plant, and the design phase improvements will commence in '26. The project is anticipated to bid in early '27, pending regulatory review and approval, and construction should be completed by the end of '27, early '28. That's going to encompass totally redundant system. We currently have, I know I went over this when we did the bond the first time, we currently have one main sort of control building. All the power comes into one main building at the water wells. This will add another power service coming into the water wells. The 3 new wells, out of those 3 new wells, 2 wells and 1 old good producing well will be tied to one complete new system with its own power, its own chemical feed system, So if something was to happen to the main building and we lost power there, the city will still be able to provide water to the residents through the redundant system. So it'll be a separate chlorination system, a separate redundant power system. So it'll provide the resilience and the redundancy we need going into the future to keep a water supply to the residents of the city of Schenectady.
Okay.
Are there any questions?
So, number one, I just want to say, kind of to piggyback off what Ms. Patrick said, you are constantly coming forth with like these grants that are really extremely impressive. And I can't imagine us being able to do the things we do without them. So that's wonderful news. Something like that's slightly related issues. I would love to see. I remember a conversation we were talking about helping our residents when their main line breaks from the city. And I was wondering if there's, as you're pursuing any grants, is there anything that kind of could fall under that?
Well, we do have on the IUP $22 million in the intended use plan for lead service line replacements. So it's on the intended use plan. We'll apply for it again. We applied for it last time because we do know federal regulations change. In 26, we will have to have a comprehensive plan of how we go from 26 to 36 and whatever lead services have to be replaced. We have to let them know that if it's 1,000 and we got 10 years to do it, we're going to do, 100 a year. We have to report that we pay. So we are going to request funding. Again, it's all on the funding. So, and there was a time when I did come up with a program to try and offer, I'll call it an insurance policy years ago when I first came back as Director of Water and Sewer, that the residents would pay a fee, a modest fee for that policy, and the city would do some of the work to do some of the service lines or repairs, but it was turned out.
Thank you.
It's my committee.
Yeah,
Go ahead, sir.
I just got a wing of that when you just mentioned that it was turned down. It was turned down because we were asking it to be a revolving fund. So you're asking the taxpayer to pay into a fund to repair broken mains, but at the end of the year, that money moved into the general fund, and you have to start all over again. And we asked that it be a revolving, the fund there remains throughout the lifetime.
Mr. Chairman, with all due respect, I put forth the proposals Mr. LaFond outlined so that we would do the repairs, and yes, it would be treated as a general fund. It's solely the discretion of the council if you wanted to set it up as a revolving fund. So my recommendation was to get in those first years, see what the actual utilization was. There would have been a, dollar increase in the fee, but that final decision is solely the city council in terms of how you account for that, how you expend the money, and how you retain the money.
I think that was the sore point at that point in time why it didn't went through, because of that not being a revolving, where it's going to happen, how do we fund it? I mean, if I like to bring it back and make it a revolving
It'll
fund,
be a little more expensive. It's been about
no,
14.
we can revisit it. I don't think we want people to pay into something and they're not getting the benefit. But I think that was one of the reasons why it wasn't shut down. It was a question was asked.
Well, Mr. Chairman, so my thought was, because Mr. LaFond's been relatively successful securing grant fundings for the city, I was thinking, that's what my question was along those lines. Is there something that maybe we could even leverage that? If there's something existing that aligns with that, maybe we could leverage it, bring the cost lower, even for participants, and then obviously we can talk about what it looks like revolving or not. But that's just something that I'd like to see it come back if indeed there's something out
Like I
there.
said, we got $22 million on the intended use plan. We have to see how we score for that. Again, that's a request. They could say you get 4, you could say you get 1. It's not going to help a lot because we know there's probably quite a few lead services still within the city. But also, if you have this policy, it's a fund to draw off of rather than, we don't own the services currently. They're owned by the residents. So the thing is okay, we got to replace them, but they're not our responsibility. But the federal government's going to say they are our responsibility. And if we have to do it by 2037, which somebody else here, but it's going to have to get done, and the funds are going to have to be found. So I don't know how, I mean, I have my ideas, but I'll keep them for myself right now.
How many surveys did we get back in the mail?
We're still doing it. We're going to start a round of what we'll call boots on the ground, because a lot of people have not responded. A lot of people, they just don't want us in their homes. Or, we have to get into the home to determine what's coming through the cellar wall, whether it's copper, whether it's lead, whether it's galvanized. So there is a group that's going to come in, put some boots on the ground for us. They'll leave cards. We'll accommodate them even if it's, and we know some people are working, but we've had some guys in the water wells that have gone out after 5 o'clock to meet with people, but it's been very, very slow. The response just isn't there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that this would be, I know I brought this up briefly before, I don't know if anyone acted on it, but I think especially right now as kids are returning to school, people are coming in, parents are filling out a lot of paperwork, so we have a little bit of a very audience that's paying a lot of attention to what these communications are like. So I think that would be a really good opportunity for the city to kind of work with the school district to say, hey, this is the information that we're trying to get. Could you put this in your, registration packets, your back to school type of thing? I think that if we did it, attach it to that, probably have a greater success rate. Just a thought.
Probably possibly do some flyers to students to bring home. I mean, just to, get the attention. And again, it's scheduling an appointment. And I know a lot of people work, but we're willing to do it, in the early evening hours when people get home. And we do send 2 people to a property.
Any other, go ahead, please.
So you said you're hiring a firm, or you have a firm for the boots on?
There's a firm, yes.
So that we've already hired?
Yes, it's a minority firm local here in Schenectady that is willing to put some individuals out to work with us, yes. And that's been going through Clough Harbor Associates. They interviewed them, and we did meet with them in room 9. So.
And you said the 22 million request, could you just...
26 million?
26?
Yes.
Just went up 4 million.
There's different grants. There is the bill money, the WIA money. There's different funding areas that we got the money. So out of the $26 million, and the loan, we had to increase the bond so that we maximize the loan in a sense. So all the loan will be dedicated to the project.
Okay.
So we couldn't have the project being less than the loan. So we're gonna, so that's where it is. And like I said, the last $10 million, the one final grant was for $10 million, and that is the 25% match. So we'll be responsible for $2.5 million, but we'll get a 0% interest because we qualify for a hardship loan, so it'll be paid back at 0%.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions on item number 2? Seeing none, may I have a motion to move forward, item number 2.
So moved.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Next item is amended and restated for supplemental bond ordinance for Rice River Road plan.
I believe Commissioner Vaughn are ready to tackle this issue.
Yeah, the Rice Road one. So
We talked about them together.
Yeah. Are there any questions regarding this? Seeing none, may I have a motion to move forward?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
very
Have a good
much.
evening.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Paul.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to bring to the council's attention the bond ordinances, both for items 2 and 3 were previously prepared by bond counsel for next week's meeting. And I think you got that a couple of weeks ago, just for the record. Thank you.
The next item is the 2026 budget, calling for a public hearing. Mrs.
Can you believe it's that time of the year again? We're looking to do a public hearing on October 14, 2025 for the 2026 budget.
This is straightforward. Are there any questions? Seeing none, may I have a motion to call for public hearing October the 14th for the 2026 budget?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead, please.
This is actually it's about finances. So this is I just saw this recently, and it has to do with how we're collecting a certain amount of money, and how I want to know how that figured into our budget, where it showed up in the line. But the stickers that we're selling for trash, I came to get something to hand out to people because they weren't doing it properly. And on the bottom it says that you can only pay for those in cash. So I wasn't really clear on why that is.
I'm not 100% sure on that. I would talk to receipts.
Okay.
Control the bond. Not always aware of that.
I wasn't allowed until the other day when I was trying to give it to someone. They were like, well, I would prefer to pay it by credit card and do all that. But it clearly says you can only buy it with cash. So, and I didn't know how that showed up in the budget.
There's a budget. There's a line item in the budget for that specifically. I can send that to you.
So there's a line item for the stickers.
Both items. For both items.
Yes, okay. All right. So who should I ask about, or will you ask about the cash?
Well, I could ask our receipts department regarding that issue.
All right. And if you would let us know.
Of course.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Motion to adjourn finance?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Have a good time.
I'd like to call to order government operations. We have one item on the agenda that is announced in the court order. Councilman Bloom.
Thank you. So I'm very excited to be before you all at this juncture. I'd like to say it definitely had its growth, I think for me specifically, with respect to identifying a select group of individuals to take on a task that's never been identified before and just grow together. So I'm pleased to announce that I received 5 votes from the committee, who is looking to select Adonis Richards as the Schenectady's inaugural poet laureate. Before I get into the background of how they arrived at that juncture, I'd say at this point, what I'm asking of the council is to support that nomination, and then it would continue along to our council meeting for a full vote next week. Sincerely, I am not one that says that they know everything. I think it started with an idea of how do we capture another voice for our community. I think in identifying in all of our roles, how do we get to that absent any bias, I think, from all of our seats and positions, and that was creating a space with community representation from our local academic institutions and then some community members. One of the takeaways that I noticed was doing that with our academic institutions during the summer where they have time off, and then as they get back to school, made the timeline a little more challenging. But I would say is throughout the discussions, it has been nothing short of just very authentic collaboration. And all of the members were understanding that this is a process that is meant to grow and develop over time. I would say the intent never was to start with a perfect process, but was one of how do we just continue to move and position the efforts forward. So one of the key takeaways was communication, and I think naturally that is an area of concern we've always identified with any of our efforts, just how do we properly inform the community. And the hope is with this position, they would serve as an additional just century with just communicating things, providing a different perspective. But also one of the takeaways was expectation, and I think that is something that doesn't fall short of anyone. It's going to be essential that this individual, although it is currently unpaid, understands that this is a multi-directional opportunity, one that allows them to leverage the title of Poet Laureate, but also one that comes with a series of expectations because you'd be taking on a role that allows you to speak to a lesser degree for the city of Schenectady in certain efforts. So I'm happy to answer any questions or concerns, but sincerely, I think from where this started to where we arrived, I can confidently sit here before you all and say that this is, I think, the best candidate out of who applied. And I would like to say out of the individuals who were presented with the opportunity, I think it was nothing was recognized of a missed opportunity. It was more or less of how do I stay engaged throughout this process? How do I contribute in different facets to ensure that they are supporting whoever the council elects to further support moving forward. That was one thing that I noticed. It was very evident that everyone had the best intent for the city at their hearts.
So I just want to say congratulations, Mr. Williams. I think that this, initially I wasn't necessarily a naysayer, but I didn't really appreciate and understand the gravity of this. What you're saying a lot, you know, as you know, I do one of the largest poetry shows in the state here, right here in Schenectady, but I couldn't understand how it would really, what it would look like in this capacity. But going through this process and learning more about it, this isn't just something that is really for, expression, but it's also, this is like a way that, what they call keepers of culture in the city. And I think that is something that is extremely valuable. So I really appreciate that this is something that's happening, and I'm proud of the entire council and supporting you in this. Mr. Patrick.
Congratulations on coming to a decision. I was just wondering how many people did apply for the position.
So I'd say 4, and I think that is a number that's not missed on, I think that is very, very new. What I would say is it was not surprising, but definitely a point of consideration for 2 individuals who stayed tuned in throughout the duration of all these discussions. I thought that identified that there are people that continuously watch our council meetings, which I thought was a very important fact to underline, but one that showed their deep-rooted just interest in seeing this forward. I was very intentional at keeping boundaries between interested parties and ensuring that my only comments to them was keeping them abreast of where we're moving. But even myself, I have not looked at the packets. I think truly wanting to trust the process and trust that the committee members made these decisions based on the materials that was put before them and also the criteria that they were looking to grade these individuals on. What I've seen in other municipalities is there's been a very key structure. And I think that is one that we can build here should this position be as viable as I know it can be, but one that the community is going to receive also. So I think with some renditions in mind, I think we can get to the level that St. Louis was a municipality looked at a lot. We had a very well-structured poet laureate program. I think Saratoga is there as well, so I think we can get there.
A couple more comments. I do think, obviously, we have to see how successful this is, but we had talked about this earlier, but I think if we want to move forward with this in future years, and that was my other question, is when will we officially start doing some work, and will he be in the schools and that kind of thing. But I think in the future, again, I think a small stipend, almost like an honorarium. I know the budget's really bad, so we're not talking about a lot of money. And again, it's something where we might be able to get grant funding for something like this. So I just want to be on the record saying that as we move forward. And then also, I hope that in the future, I think it's really important we should reach out to the New York State Writers Institute, who handles our state poet laureate and our state author, and at least, say, hey, we're on record. We've got this young person that's going to be our poet laureate, and, who knows, they may want to have Adonis come and, be part of their schedule at some point as well.
I would add that I think that what was really helpful, what I saw as far as how the council operated with this process, was that there were questions and rooted in genuine interest in ensuring that this was something that is really valuable for the city. And I think that, when Ms. Patrick brought up the question before around being published author and that, initially I was I don't think that's something, because I wanted to make it inclusive, and then it developed into the dialogue of what does published mean, and really added depth and value to the conversation. So again, I'm really happy the way that happened. And I think that this is something that we could grow and grow and adapt. And I think that there is some unforeseen probably value as once it really gets wrong, and I think that we'll see. So just wanted to add that, and then we'll close up, so.
So I do want to go on record as saying I was not opposed to having an honorarium. I think having that expectation be in addition to the magnitude of this, I think that would, unfortunately, I think it would be a very big expectations going into this. I think for me personally, and my perspective wasn't included, this was truly the committee's wanting to have someone that was authentically in this mode of communication, and it was one that the two applicants that it technically boiled down to, that they both possessed. But I also wanted to add in what I thought was very organic was the desire to, after this selection was publicized or made public, that the committee would invite to hear from the selected poet laureate in a social gathering, just to have that I think natural development of communication underway. In our legislation identified like touch points of 6 months, looking for an assessment back, and they were like, we can't be effective if we wait 6 months. So like we would like to do months. So it was beautiful to see them understanding the expectations and then developing these along the way. And I'm happy to let them kind of take this and run with it, and I look forward to what they're going to report back in 6 months.
Ms. Porter?
My question is, so will we get like some timeline or expectation or how this is going to move forward, where this person will present, you know, those kind of things? Is that kind of timeline been worked out, or will it be worked out, so we have a way to like put it out there for people to let them know that Schenectady now has a poet laureate who will be performing here or doing, or where do they do their inaugural thing? And if you don't have those answers, that's fine. But I just want to know if that kind of thing is going to be mapped out as we move forward.
I can take that note. What I've identified in other municipalities is there's like a formal ask for them to create a body of work to speak at certain engagements. But I think there was also the intentionality to having partnerships with the school districts and our academic institutions naturally. But to answer your point, I think we can develop a calendar, or I'll present that to the committee, and they can have discussions with the laureate and then report back to us.
Thank you.
I also think that we have to think about what, our expectation should at least be close relative to our investment, right? So if we're having this person and having an expectation for them to have this level of commitment, then we have to really start asking ourselves, like, how are we going to be able to come up with, some level, even if it's not maybe like in the grants that you were saying, like something to at least be active to make sure that there's some level of compensation. I know we're not there yet. I'm just saying something to keep in mind when we start to have expectations for people. That's a lot of time and preparation to do it. Mr. Turl?
Thank you. So I guess I forget how many individuals were on the board to select them. You had 5 votes for Adonis out of how many?
So I'd say there were originally 6. One of the areas of concern, or one of the areas that we noted, was trying to look at it from a unique lens from the perspective of union. So they identified a student that was in the Willow program. It's very prominent. I think the nature of the beast was they were a student that did not live in the area, and they went through some tough circumstances. So it made their ability to weigh in on these discussions very difficult. And what I didn't want to do was to replace someone mid-discussions, especially without having a discussion with the council, because we were already in a tight deadline. I think with consideration to the process, I think having an odd number was valuable, but I would like to have discussions again with union to see if that is someone that we can replace, which I'm confident we are. I just wanted to be respectful of the organic chemistry that already happened, absent their feedback, and then not just want to throw them into the process last minute just to fill a seat.
Thank you. So I guess my other question was, I had put forward about copyright. Adonis comes up with this big, has that been addressed?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Copyright. So Adonis comes up, well, he's the poet laureate for the city of Schenectady, and he writes a poem puts a poem out there that goes big time. He gets accreditation for it, a lot of royalties. Who's deserving of those royalties in addition to himself, because he wrote it for the city?
Interesting question.
I put that forward prior. I don't know. I'm just saying.
I would say it wasn't presented to me formally. I think it was just a matter of discussion, and then I weighed in on it. in all of my review, I've never seen it as a point of concern. So I naturally haven't recognized an instance in which that would be a matter of issue. To me personally, it would be the body of work of the author. But I think if something rose to that level where we were requesting to be a recipient of truly something that was their work, I think that could be a discussion. I would imagine that'd be a discussion with the committee to discuss internally, and then we would kind of hear back from them.
I would think that when if the city, if we had a request for an artist to, I guess in our world sometimes you can hire artists to commission some work, like where we can say, or we can request that, you know, there's a piece of work that's done that is done for a specific reason or something that's for the city. And I think that might sometimes land outside the scope of what we're talking about here. A poet oftentimes isn't necessarily always reciting their own original work. Depending on what the circumstance is, a poet could, you know, recite another piece that is relevant to whatever event or whatever is going on. So I think that I would say I would give a high level of caution as to consider like ourselves as a city as someone who can take ownership of any level and anyone's like art or intellectual property for that matter. I have Ms. Patrick, right?
Yeah, I guess that's something that I guess could evolve, but I'd want to hear from council. I mean, will we be having a letter of commitment to Mr. Richards? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, he obviously would have to be told that he's going to become the poet laureate. He was accepted, he was selected, so that would probably be something in writing, but I don't know. And I guess also, what do other municipalities, you know, since we do have other models out there. But I think that's a good point about they could be reading somebody else's poem, depending on the ceremony that we invite them to read at.
Mr. Chairman, I mean, this was, you know, looking at your legislation, this is an honorary designation, but neither an employee nor an officer of the city of Schenectady. And the legislation doesn't say that there's any commissioned works.
Correct.
If this was a committee, if you commission, then that would be, you know, then the ownership would be from the person who's commissioning the work.
Absolutely. Yep. I agree.
The thing that I can compare this to is like several years ago, there was someone who wrote a new song, the city song. Yep. So the question, what else can I call it? So who owns that work, I guess becomes my question. And my understanding is the person that wrote the song, they were just writing it about the city. So I think this is a similar circumstance. But we certainly can take a look at who owns that particular song. And when you come back and tell us, could you please sing it as well?
I wasn't here. But I think that song was commissioned by the city, and the official song has been adopted into the city code.
So that was a city song. Okay.
It wasn't commissioned, but it was written by, there was some formal adoption.
So the city owns it.
We should sing that at every council.
Yes, we should. I mean,
You don't want to hear
Definitely
me
starting.
so I think then it shows the difference between what's being discussed here and what happened with the song.
Okay. Any further questions, comments on that? We don't need to take any.
Yeah, you do.
That's right now.
So I just wanted to point a clear quote.
Yes, if I can just follow up. So you have a name, the resolution calls for, at your first council meeting, the council designates the person, so a brief resolution. I can do a brief resolution formally doing that.
Okay. I'll entertain the motion. Did you have questions?
No.
I said I'll entertain the motion to.
I will,
Second.
I'll make the motion that we accept the committee's recommendation of Adonis Richards as the inaugural poet laureate for the city of Schenectady.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Nothing else to come before government operations. Except motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We adjourn.
Thank you. I'd like to call to order city development and planning. We have 11 items on the agenda now. And the first one is review proposed 2025-26 HUD annual action plan The public hearing was held on August 25th. They did have one speaker.
Good evening, City Council Mayor. I'm here before you asking for you to accept the proposed annual action plan allocations as our final allocations.
Are there any questions? Yes, Ms. Patrick.
I have several. I'm sorry I wasn't here last week, although I did watch it, so I did see the person that spoke. So I have a couple of general questions, and I have some specific questions about the funding allocations.
Sure.
So the first is when we talk about Habitat for Humanity, which is on page 15 of our packet, I guess was the second page of the grid. I was just wondering, it says funds will be used to construct one 2-story house, but then later it says both houses will meet Energy Star standards. So I just wasn't sure if it was one house or two.
It's a typo. It originally was 2, but they got funded for 1 because they went into a contract for one of the units, which is a choice limiting action, and not allowed for the funding source being used.
Okay, so the $239,232 is for one house.
No, it was cut in half, right?
No.
Wait, let me get to the page. My apologies.
That's okay. I can tell you that the requested funding was $470,000.
Yes, so that is half of, yes, so that is the correct, that is for 1.
Okay, do we need to, I guess, do we need to change the description, or are we okay? Because
I can change that typo.
And then under city property rehab and ownership program, now that question I don't need to ask because, so that money is okay for one house, $200,000,
That's
right?
correct, that is a project. It's earmarked for one particular project.
Okay, and then on page, the next page, so the Hamilton Hill Arts Center went from last year 40,000 to 150,000. Is it because of the number of children or?
The number of children, their record with, they had one of the top applications submitted.
Okay.
Very thorough, they've shown significant improvement in reporting and spending down.
Excellent. And then the next one, same thing. It was a very large increase for the Schenectady Youth Coalition, and I just was wondering if we had a sense of, again, is it because numbers served or what the
So
increase
with the
was?
Youth Coalition, which serves 12 organizations, they had organizations apply outside of the youth organization.
Oh.
So what we did was we didn't separate them from the youth organization, we just increased the Youth Coalition amount to fund.
Okay, great.
So they had about 4 organizations that are part of the Youth Coalition that applied separately.
Excellent, okay. Sorry, I just wanted to get just some clarification on the numbers. So the next page, on the Mom Starts Here program, I actually just hadn't heard of that program yet. And is it out of the hospital? Is it with another healthcare organization? And is it a 501c3? Or?
It is a 501c3 and is in the city of Schenectady, and they do partner with the hospital, but it is not part of the hospital.
Thank you.
And that is a new organization.
Yes, and the same with the next one, Strong Owls. That's a new organization also, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I look forward to hearing more about these.
Not a new organization,
Just new.
meaning like newly established, but a new organization for the city, supporting them with funds.
Okay, and then this is a minor point, but for the Boys and Girls Club, I was just wishing that we could have found the other $3,860. It's such a small amount of money that I was kind of hoping we could have figured
You know what? It is a small amount of money, but we have caps. They're public service caps, and we have to, once we fund the amount, we take from where to kind of make it work.
Okay, that was good for me to know. And that is all of my specific questions. My other questions just are more general around do we help the organizations that we didn't fully fund? Do we try to give them any technical assistance in terms of grant, trying to look for other grants? I was kind of thinking, do you think that your office might sometime do like a grants development workshop and invite nonprofits to come and maybe?
We currently do not do that. I would say that would be something our affirmative action officer could possibly do as far as development, but we currently don't do that. And most of the organizations that didn't get funded, the amount that were asked they have multiple
Funding sources. That was actually one of my other questions, was whether there was some if they were diversifying their funding. So great, thank you. Good work, and I appreciate all the work that goes into this. So thank you very much.
You knew about that.
Mr. Wayne, the other side?
So I want to just say, and I hope I don't steal any thunder from anyone else aside from that being a really nice polo, and hopefully City Council can get some nice polos as well. That's my plug. I know we heard from BCNI at our last council meeting, and I know that they do good work within the city, but I think it's important to make a clarification and then also just a statement. I think the one, it's no is not a no, it's making room for others, and I think you did a really good job at snapshotting one new program or organization that was funded. What I've come to appreciate about our city is that it's about opportunities. So sincerely, I appreciate the work that you and your leadership with your team has identified creative approaches to offer people those opportunities. I know we spoke sincerely about the YWCA during our ARPA application discussions, and it was how do we empower other lesser known organizations to get to that level. And I think it starts by just gradually. So I know some targets were short of what they were asking, but I think it presents the question to them of who else or what other steps can you take, because the expectation cannot continuously fall on the city. It will shortchange some other organizations, not to discredit the work that those have been doing it for a long period of time. I think part of it is just how do we provide some additional opportunities to some new people. And I think you did well with that. So sincerely, I think this was the first year that I've recognized those efforts coming to fruition. So thank you, and I look forward to what this means for the city moving forward.
And I want to, we've had these discussions before in terms of CDBG, and I do remember once Mr. Mudabaran was saying that we should be looking at different organizations doing similar things, and why aren't we trying to make sure that we ask them to come together? And it sounds to me like you did that with the coalition, that even though they applied outside of that you said, working together works better. I'm going to take the county's thing. So thank you for that and for all the work, and I appreciate the fact that you didn't just do this based on just your staff, but you asked other people to actually take a look at some of the applications. I don't know if you were all aware of that process, and a couple council members did so, and others as well, and other staff in the city outside of the Department of Development. So there was a broad look, because what happens in development impacts the entire city. So I appreciate how you address that.
We're excited about what we're doing, and I feel really proud of the equitable process that was put before this year. When I came into this role 18 months ago, I said we're gonna have everything online. We're building our own CRM, customer relation management system, and this year we have done that from start to finish, meaning our applications were online, how the applicants were scored was online, how it was randomly selected and matched with a person was done online, our risk assessment. So we're really proud of that approach this year.
Great. Any other questions or comments on this? Mr. Farrar?
I was just quick. I think about I know that doing this process in an equitable manner is something that is extremely difficult to do, and also it doesn't leave everyone cheering, honestly. It just is what it is. And I know that in process, sometimes there was a saying that around that equity can feel like restriction to those in positions of privilege, meaning that if that privilege is that you've been supported historically from the city, when the time comes where we are owning up to our values of equity and opening the door for other people to kind of take some of that to get some of that opportunity to build their organization as well. That can feel, people can feel slighted, but that's really the price you pay to do the job the way that you're supposed to do it, and the way that we say we do it, and based on our express values. So I greatly appreciate that. And my question is, how many new first-time, I guess, recipients do you know? I know us.
We had 5 new in total and 3 were funded. The other 2 were incomplete applications, so we didn't have all of the information needed to score them properly. In total, we had 39 applicants this year. So 12 applications were not scored, but of those 12 applications, 9 had other applications that received funding.
Oh, nice. Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Mr. Tavera.
Page 14, Bethesda House, homeless housing and eviction prevention. Do you have the 2024 outcome report for this program?
Yes,
Would you mind sharing it to the council?
yes.
And just a follow-up on the new agency that we're funding. Are all the agencies have base in Schenectady?
Yes, all agencies have base in Schenectady, yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions, concerns? All right.
See, no, Madam, I move this.
All right, moved by Mr. Rivera, second. Second by Ms. Patrick, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. All right. Our next item is discussion City of Schenectady Metroplex Parking Services Agreement, Lasco Mobile Payment Technology. Mr. Wallen is present.
Hello. As some of you may know, the city of Schenectady utilizes a payment app called Passport. It is our mobile paying app. We are utilizing it through a mutual agreement MOU with Metroplex. Agreement's been in place for 5 years. Metroplex, I have Dave Hopekamp with me, has gone out for a new RFP, done an evaluation, and is looking to move towards a new platform called Lasco, which is outlined briefly in your legislative request. So I wanted Dave to come over here today and explain where Metroplex is. The city has the option to continue to work with Metroplex and have a unified parking at downtown, or the city could go off and continue to use Passport as it is. But that's what we're here to talk with you about today. And just so you're aware, the kiosks would remain. Kiosks would be remaining with both. So David, if you'd like to just give a recap of Lasco.
Good evening, everybody. We're here to talk about Lasco. So I think most of you know Metroplex has operated the downtown parking system since 2004. The system was operated by the city, the parking garage. There was a $4 million debt on it. We just signed it over to Metroplex, took it over, and then we got the surface lots taken over as well. So we're really proud of our parking operation. It's important to our downtown services, providing downtown businesses, residents. We have a residence program now as well. And then visitors to destinations like Proctor's, clean, efficient parking. Since we originally went out for an RFP for services to manage the parking lot in 2005, Lasco Parking has been our provider. Periodically through time, we keep going out, asking new folks to take a crack at it, and we did this in May. And Laz again came forward with a strong proposal for us, and their proposal included their own payment technology. Payment technology does a few things. One, it gets rid of the need to download an app, which is sometimes difficult for people. A lot of people, you can do that QR code now and just hit it. A lot of people have Apple Pay, so that new technology exists. They've incorporated that. And then it's also just cheaper for us too. It's less administrative costs, so that we can continue to offer good quality parking for us on our off-street locations. And then if you approve it, we continue to offer the same service for the on-street locations as well. Lasco is one of the biggest parking providers, 44 states, 639 cities. Great company. Their local presence and management has done a terrific job taking over some of our landscaping and property maintenance activities. So we're very pleased that they responded to the RFQ and that the Metroplex board would like to move forward with it. Any questions?
Yes, right now, if you have the app on your phone and your time runs out, you can add money. With the scanning this QR code, is that still an option?
It still works the same way. They'll still push updates to your phone. You won't need to know your zone anymore. Once you're in, it will just ask you. Yeah, that'd be nice, right? But you can still, the same pricing, we met with all the department heads about this. The back end enforcement side still stays the same for them, so they're all in good spirits about this. But yeah, it will have those same services that Passport has.
Okay. That was a question that was raised from Ms. Patrick?
Just want to say I was in Buffalo last week and had to download their app, and it turned out I didn't have to download their app really, because I did, but it was actually Passport.
Okay.
So because all my information was already in my phone for Schenectady, it just was and I was able to pay for the parking in Buffalo.
But you still have to kind of figure that out. The nice thing about Last Go is if you just, there is still an app there. People are comfortable using apps, but it really is, you just look up, there's a sign, and then you just point your phone at it, and then you don't even have to store you talk about your credit card information being stored. People don't like that. You can do that, or it's just if you have Apple Pay, you double click on the side, or Samsung Pay, or you download on the side of your phone. Tap on the side of your phone, and then it's taken care of. So Laz is a great company. They have a great track record and making sure the technology is safe and secure for everyone as well. So they would, no cost to the city to make this transition. Some of the devices that the enforcement team uses will continue to work on the enforcement side. So we'd love to have one system. I think that people appreciated that, both on street and off street. We are going to be moving forward with LASGO. We'll start making that transition on the off-street locations, the Metroplex lots, in the fall, and then making sure that there's a good public campaign, people understand it. We look sometime around January 1 if you approve to enter into management agreement to make that change over on the street locations.
Mr. Farley, then you.
So, partnering with Metroplex, and seems like it saves the city some money. And I was just wondering, what is this? Like, what is our contribution to this as for the city cost like right now?
So we have covered all of the administrative costs to have the technology, and what we do is it gets allocated into where does the funding come, where does the revenue come from city-controlled areas on street, and then what is allocated, because it's all geolocated, from the Metroplex facilities. And at the end of each month, we reconcile it and send it over to finance with a check for your share. So we cover all the costs. It's minimal work for us, and we want to offer this service anyways and make it an efficient place to go downtown. So, we don't pass any cost onto the city.
One more question. Yeah. So, Ms. Patrick made me think of something. Do we know what LASGO does with people's information? Is there as when because I know they're a large company, and anytime that you do that, you sometimes, do you know if they do they
sell it or something like that?
Yeah,
we'll check through their policies to make sure we're comfortable. We'll only contract. Obviously, by law, there's only certain things you can do, but if that is a concern, we'll address it, and before we enter into the management agreement, we'll just make sure that it meets all city guidelines of what you can do with individual information.
Thank you.
Mr. Toro?
Thank you. So the kiosks will stay?
Correct.
So people can put change into there?
Yes.
Okay. Because my Passport app on my phone has about 15 different license plates from people standing there in front of the machine going like this, and I put their license plate on my phone so I can help them out. And I'm just worried because there's so many individuals that I encounter daily walking around that have no clue how to work a Passport or download an app, or how to even probably hold a phone up to anything, and Apple Pay. Or some type of payment. I mean,
so all the kiosks, we have some in our main lots as well. Those will continue to be there. They'll accept cash. Downloading an app is not for everybody, and not only can you take pictures of the QR code, but you can also just text, and most people do text now. I'll say text this number, and then the link will pop up on your phone. But yes, people who don't have a smartphone, they'll continue to be able to use the kiosks that are around. Metroplex, the garage, also accepts cash as well. Also, the Metroplex lots are free nights and weekends as
I was going to ask you, I just wrote down free here, so to make sure you advertise that I yell at people all the time, after 4 o'clock, you don't have to pay. And
I think it's later than that.
Nights and weekends are free.
What's the time?
Well,
it's 5 o'clock for us.
Because they go off duty at 4, so I'm figuring that's safe. 4 to 5. But that needs but people need to. I see people all the time just trying to put money in or pay when it's nights and
So
weekends.
we're going to do
so that's huge for our city with everything we have that's going on here.
Yeah, and so Laz will do some, they've done some customer appreciation events where they come out at the table. We also have parkschenectady.com, our website. We'll update all the information on how to use it. There's a good promotion video. And then some of the signage for Passport is faded now, so it'll be all new, fresh signage. We'll work with the city team to make sure it has the look and style that the city would like.
Sounds good. Mr. Williams?
So I definitely want to say thank you, and kind of expanding from Mr. Toro's point, just point of reflection, I've never met anyone who's gone, I love Passport. So I think it's a struggle even to me myself. So I think it's very appreciative to find applications that take away the burden of downloading a software. But I did want to add to Mr. Toro's point about the kiosk. I also have catch people, and it is just, you feel so bad and you're glad you're not in that position yourself, but going to help them. Is there any considerations for more streamlined kiosks? And then my second question was, how do we map to identify to tell people you're in this area, here's where you can pay if you want to pay with money? I feel like that's always been a challenge as well.
So if this is an on-street question, I'd let Chris handle it. Off-street, we're going to do some additional banners that draw attention to, free nights and weekends and things like that. Because the point is to try to, parking is expensive. This used to be an annual $1 million deficit in 2004. Think about what that's valued now for the city. So, we don't run it as a money-making business, but we do try to get as close to being revenue neutral on it, so that we can keep it nice and make sure it meets the standard that we want. We'll continue to look at our kiosk. I think that there are some things you can do to make them a little bit more efficient. But the more we can get people comfortable with this technology, just the better it would be for everyone. While still supporting our last team. Do you have anything to add on the street?
You'll see more of a presentation on the kiosks come budget time. We are looking to purchase some upgraded kiosks. The screen technology gets better every year. I'm not saying we buy kiosks every year. There's also, we do have to start transitioning. One of the things that we're always at odds with is technology itself. So I like this transition, but I would just advise that, going to LASGO, that the commitment's how many years?
It's 5 years. Yeah.
So I would always advise we don't go less than 5 years unless there's some reason to, just because it is hard to keep up with technology. We've had to invest in the kiosk to replace all the 3G antennas with 4G antennas because of the switch, and now what we're looking at is making sure that they have chips and chip readers, so the new ones will have chip readers, because swiping is going away in the within the next 5 years. I believe it's going away, and we're hoping kiosks last 10 years. We're also looking at kiosks that are underperforming and moving away from having kiosks that cost us $40 a month in service fees that generate $5 a month. So that is something, but those areas we still are looking at trying to push people to the app, and that's kind of the conversation, is that where we want to go. Also maybe reducing the amount of kiosks, but trying to make it so that you do know where they are. For instance, we do have 4 in this area right in front of City Hall, where could we get away with 2, just trying to get more efficient. And we do get requests for cash, for people to actually use cash at the kiosks. Cash is complex. You get into using dollar coins as change. You get into counting differently. Now you just don't have a change box. You have something else. So it does add that complexity. And I don't know, we've made a decision to go away from cash 10 years ago. And if you've gone to any event centers or public locations, they're going totally away from cash, credit card only. So I think that we stick with where we are because coin is simpler, but I do know that we have people that are, and I do know Metroplex uses cash at theirs, but I think it's less kiosks than what we have. So I just want to point that out, that the kiosks, when I propose them right now, they're still coin and credit, not cash, but it could be added if it was needed. But once again, you'd be left with some have it, some not, so you might get some.
Ms. Patrick?
As the technology continues to evolve, is there a way, to Ms. DeToro's question, where after, I thought it was 6 p.m., but okay, 5 p.m., that you wouldn't be able to actually input anything into, I feel like I've experienced that also on a night or a weekend where it's not going to let you use the app because you don't have to pay. Is that?
That may be possible. I haven't looked into it. It may be possible, but yeah, we would be not receiving ancillary revenues.
That's true.
So
Yeah, I do think the app will have it. It's not an app anymore, right? It'll just page will just say it's not. You don't want to confuse people more, because I've been there in places as well where I'm like, well, it worked, and did it work? And you just don't know because the sign's not around. So. You don't want to just say it's not functioning at this time.
I think that ding when it tells me that I made my payment. Ding.
So, Ms. Rowland, you talk about coin versus cash. Are you just talking about people putting in dollar bills or like dimes and nickels?
Bills.
Okay.
That would be
The other thing is, because this happens, and this might be what you're experiencing, Ms. Patrick, there are times when coins will not go in because I never download the app. And so I use coins on my credit card. But there's times when coins go in. Is that because it's full? That it won't accept anymore?
It could be a jam.
Yeah, they get jammed.
They do get jammed, and then Mike and our department will go in and do it. But yes, that happens. Or someone tries to put something in that might not be a coin to try to trick it, and then it gets in because it is you put something a little bit bigger and it can get caught. And I'm sure if Mike Fahey was here, he would tell you all about operating the kiosk.
All right. My other thing is, this is actually a concern because you talked about reducing the number of kiosks perhaps. And my concern in that is that that people who have mobility problems have, in the distance, they may have to walk now from their car to the kiosk and then back again. So I just want to make sure we take into consideration as we're reducing this, and I know we're trying to make it more efficient, but I believe we're also trying to make things okay for our residents. So that would be a concern for me, especially around City Hall, where a lot of people come to pay their taxes, do various things that they don't do online. They come and pay it. So I just want to, that's something we can take into consideration.
Yeah, so to that point, right, like as we're relooking at things, if you're saying, trying to guess, so you could put we have, let's say, 7 kiosks around City Hall because we're trying to pick you up. Instead, we could put a kiosk at the entrance to City Hall and a kiosk at the entrance to Pedestrian J Street. Now there's 2. Now you might say, what about the post office? Then you put 1 at that corner. There's 3. So that's what I just want to look at instead of 2 and 2 and 2 and 6. If we think the generator is City Hall, then to the point of Metroplex, when you go to the Metroplex, the kiosk is usually at the entrance exit. Now they're not trying to vet what entrance exit you're going to. They don't have 1 at every side, correct? You have usually 1 kiosk.
Yeah, we have 1 central. Yeah.
Right. So you walk to that and then you go.
With a sign then.
But and this is just once again me putting on my engineer hat and trying to do things efficiently. If the government is so efficient, I know it's terribly efficient government. If we want to put them all over the place, put them everywhere. It's great. We'll put them wherever you want. I'll buy more kiosks. It's not a problem. We'll just have more kiosks. We just have to budget for more kiosks, and they do come with fees because they're cellular. And so, and then once again, if you put 2 kiosks where 1 is, they're going to split the revenue, and it is what it is. But I have no problem, accommodating people and putting them out there. I would just, like I say, I get the revenue reports, and we're looking, and we're trying to just find where we can put them to make them more efficient.
I understand that. And let me just be clear. I'm not advocating for more.
Oh.
I'm just also not advocating for less. Just want to make sure that people have what they need in terms of being, you compared to Metroplex, but they have parking lots, and you pull into the parking lot, and there's the kiosk, and then you park in the lot. That's a little bit different for us. So,
Well, I mean, so the new lot, the Liberty lot, you're going to pull into the lot and park,
right.
and the kiosk is at the entrance. So if you pulled into that lot and wanted to go to 20 North, that is over here, and the kiosk is over here, so you will have to walk over to pay to go. And so just like, it's very similar to off-street. There will be a little bit of a walk either way you do it.
Mr. Farrell?
Yeah, so I could have misunderstood this. Isn't like so people who have mobility issues, who have like stickers or plaques on the car on their license plate, they are required to pay the same fee that everyone else pays? Yeah, I wasn't sure.
Not everybody thinks they do, because I've seen them put their placard up and walk away like, I'm good. Ma'am, did you have something you want to add to this?
It's part of the change in technology is when people go to the kiosk, they don't have to go back to their car.
Right.
You put
Get
your
that
license
already.
plate in, it goes in the system, and the enforcement knows that you paid for it. And that's even, like, some businesses are very gracious. They may be paying for more than just their car, restaurants, other things that say it's a problem for people having to pay to park. If they want to pay the 50 cents or the dollar, they can put in the license plate, pay for that car, and
It is something that we can do off-street. I would never broadcast it to take away from revenue from the city, though. So, but if there's a business that wants to, maybe they have a great lunch crowd, or there's certain events going on, it is something that we have one business that already has expressed interest and is going to move forward with. So they'll have a promo code. You can go into their business. You can snap. Maybe you've already paid there. I'm like, I'm going to go have lunch, and I can get my 2 hours of free parking. So it is something that we can certainly do with this new technology. And again, it's just easier and more simpler. And I think everyone's texting nowadays. So if you see text 421 to this number, and then it snaps in, much easier than downloading an app and making sure you downloaded the right app.
Any further discussion? So this is just informing us, this is just up for discussion right now, Mr. Wallace?
Yeah, this is to have an updated management agreement now that we're moving from Passport to the last system.
So you asked me for a resolution, for this to be moved forward, because it's on the agenda simply as discussion, so that's why I wanted to be clear.
So the next step would be, we would have the agreement. It would be
Metroplex Parking Service Agreement. It's a professional services agreement and follows the same pattern that was put in place in 2020.
But I'm just curious,
Mr. O'Brien?
do you want to send that out first? I mean, after with this, this was kind of a broad overview of what the plan is. And there were some questions by council members regarding some specifics. Perhaps next cycle we'll have the draft for the council's consideration.
This is still going to Metroplex Board.
Right.
So we wanted to get in before that, and we wanted to make sure that the council was amicable to going this way if there were any concerns, so that we could look. But
Right,
yes, the next step would be after there, that we would come back with an agreement for review.
So this was just informing the council in principle what's going on, so that everybody's on the same page, and then the agreement after Metroplex reviews it, then we'll take a look at it, and then for final council action.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. O'Brien.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming. Appreciate it. The next item, number 3, is the issuance of a revocable permit, number 691, to Synthesis Architects for a sign that will overhang the city's right-of-way.
Synthesis Architects is a longtime architecture firm on J Street. They have a old sign attached to their building. We looked to see, and they have a revocable permit that's very old. Insurance expired under different formats, so they were amicable to coming in and getting a new revocable permit for their new sign, which will hang in a similar location. So we'd like to move forward with that.
Any questions or concerns?
I'll move it.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item number 4 is award bidding contract for the City of Schenectady Fire Station, number 3 and number 4 generators. Mr. Wallen?
So In an effort to increase the city's resilience in emergency situations, we are trying to, or looking to fix a thing that we have, which is no emergency backup power at 2 of our fire stations. They're 2 of our older fire stations. You know, the city, we're fortunate where we actually don't lose power very often. We have a strong grid here. However, one of the things that's brought to light is we have new doors at the fire stations. They are called screw-style doors that use almost exactly what it is, like a screw, you go like that, and they're slower opening. If your house, you would have a hole with a spring, and your door would slide open. These are a screw-style door because of how much we use, they're more wearable. However, when there is no power, they are extremely tedious to open. And it's brought to light that it really should have it. And so we did a review of the facilities and agreed that they should have backup power. The facilities aren't large, so the generators are just slightly larger than you would have at home, maybe double the size of that. We put out a bid for these, and we got 3 bids from 3 engineers that we work with, and the low was Burke Engineering. So we're comfortable going with Burke for the installation of these generators, and I really think those that are stationed at Station 3 and 4 really appreciate it.
Any questions or concerns?
I'll move this.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming. We moved item number 5 into claims, so that's already been discussed. And item number 6 is ceremonial resolution for the honor of veteran. The person that we received the letter from, Mr. Frank, is Michelle Johnson. So we finally got her information today. So did you put a copy of the final resolution?
I did not.
Okay.
Well, I did print that.
All right. So the what was in the packet was not the final resolution. So. Yes, but that's another thing.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. One for me, one for everybody else, almost. That's simple? Okay. So we just got the final information. We did get some things, but I knew it wasn't complete because many of you may even know who this is. So I knew there were some things that are incomplete, and rather than us presenting something that didn't have all the information, asked for her to just fill in the blanks. So it tells you about her, and this is a ceremonial resolution that would be rescinded, I believe it was like 13 when the county's doing their honor of vet program. So just looking for a motion for this.
Second.
All right, thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, item number item number 7 is the moratorium for health and wellness spas. Mr. Toro.
Yes, thank you. So I'd like to propose a 6-month moratorium on health and wellness spas here in the city, so that the code department, I'd like to put forward that these specific health and wellness spas be issued a certificate of occupancy. What that does is it ensures that the businesses and facilities are operating safely, legally, and in compliance with zoning, building, fire, and health codes. They're not currently required at this time to have a CO. Other businesses in the city have to have a CO. Barbershops, I do have a list of them here. I can't find them at this moment. So I'll just continue with why it's important. So some of the key points are these spa and wellness centers frequently provide services involving direct physical contact and using specialized equipment, massage oils, and treatments of things for skin treatment. Without oversight through a CO, there's no guarantee that the facilities meet the basic health, fire safety, ventilation, sanitation, and structural requirements. The CO would also require facilities to demonstrate compliance with safety codes protecting both patrons and employees. Some of the consumer protection would be requiring a certificate of occupancy is a signal to our residents that this particular building and this particular business has been visited by our code department, fire department, the mayor's office, and a certificate of occupancy is issued fostering and encouraging business growth for that particular business. Here it is, other establishments that have a CO, that require a CO in our city are salons, barbershops, tattoo parlors. So those are all businesses that require a certificate of occupancy. Another reason is professional accountability. So many of the spas and wellness centers use a massage therapist. So by a certificate of occupancy being issued by our code department, it also ensures that the professionals who work there meet proper city standards. At the moment, our code for massage parlors, and that's what it is in our code book, is just for massage parlors, and there's nothing in here saying that they need a certificate of occupancy. We've noticed that there's quite a few just popping up in the city. One in particular in almost a residential area with a small sign in the window that says spa. It's kind of lit and encouraging people to go there. So I think it's important at this time that we have a 6-month moratorium, a pause on all spa, health and wellness spas in the city, and prohibit any from opening until we can go in and ensure that these buildings and these places are safe, and issue a certificate of occupancy through our code department.
Yes, Ms. Patrick?
Interesting, I didn't know that we didn't have to have the CO in these places, so this is good information to know. I'm wondering if they have to be licensed by New York State. I mean, like a hair salon.
Yes.
What?
Yeah, I just want to chime in on
There's some
that.
clarification.
Yes.
I think clarification before anybody who's a masseuse
Has to be licensed.
has to be licensed by
Okay.
the state
Right.
education department.
Okay.
Chapter 177 of the city code defines massage parlors, any establishment or business by whatever name called where massages are administered. It's a broad definition. And it also goes into, it also has some exceptions there. But a licensed masseur or licensed masseuse is any person that's licensed to practice massage in accordance with provisions of Article 155 of the Education Law. The violation of this city code regarding that is an unclassified misdemeanor subject to a penalty of up to $500. It's also it's a licensed profession under the state education law, which makes it a Class E felony, if somebody's practicing that profession. So there's a broad definition in Chapter 177. Now, if there's going to be a certificate of use, there's a certificate of use. There are certain businesses over the years that have been added to the certificate of use, which is a banquet facility, bar business, cannabis or tobacco retail or consumption, a convenience store, or drugstore, private club or lodge, restaurant or secondhand dealer store. So the issue is the definition. We don't know, the definition is broad for our massage parlors, but whatever it's called, and there's certain exceptions regarding that. But the spa definition, what does that include? What does that include? Because if we're going to regulate something, we got to define it.
Right.
And such a definition isn't in our zoning code. The only thing we can find here is, the massage parlor in Chapter 177. So if we're going to do a certificate of use procedure, as well as one to incorporate this into our zoning code, we probably should have one definition. So, in talking with planning and talking to the zoning officer, we don't, the health and this as defined here, or not defined here, but health and wellness spa establishments is not defined in our code.
Okay.
So we need to define that, and then work from there, because do you include gyms in that? You know, what do you include in that?
Because they
I mean,
massages.
but the thing is, if it's massages, that you've already got it brought something already in the code that covers that. That covers that and makes it on, you know, if you're, it says, you know, if it shall be unlawful, this is 177-2, it shall be unlawful for any person to practice a massage parlor who's not a licensed masseur or licensed masseuse. So, that's a broad definition, but it goes on to, you know, talk about this, you know, who doesn't practice medicine, et cetera, et cetera. Our code in chapter 177 mirrors what's in the state education law as far as the licensing, exceptions, what the requirements are. So if it's adding a certificate of use to those list of businesses, we've got to figure out how we're going to do that. And if you want to add that, I would suggest you also add that definition to the zoning code as well. Regarding, you know, an application for a certificate of use has a whole laundry list of requirements that have to be, you know, various security licenses, et cetera, et cetera. There's a whole, under 183-6, there's a whole list of requirements that when somebody's applying for a certificate of use has to provide the city in order to get the certificate of use. So I just wanted to kind of in broad brush say that 177, if it's illegal massage parlors, the definition is very, it doesn't have to be called a massage parlor under our city code. It's a very broad definition.
All right, so let me just clarify. So don't all businesses have to get a certificate of occupancy for the building that they're in?
Well, yeah, they have to get a certificate.
So they have to.
This is certificate of use.
But they don't necessarily need a certificate of use for that particular purpose.
Right.
Okay, just to be clear. Ms. Patrick, and then, because she wasn't finished, and then Mr. Muda. Ms. Patrick?
Yes, so I guess, I think what we're talking about right now is a moratorium. I think there's a lot of questions and a lot of research and a lot of things that will have to be discussed. So I think having the moratorium on new businesses of this sort, I could support. Because I think there's a lot of questions. I mean, I think when you think about all the independent salons that might have somebody coming over and massaging, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that can get involved here. So I think the moratorium would be okay while we try to investigate all that stuff.
Well, I'm going to ask Mr. Muda to speak, but I'm not sure how we do a moratorium on something that doesn't really exist yet. So, Mr. Muda.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. On the legal side, can we do something like that? The council recommends something
That's what I was talking to the planner and the zoning officer. If you recall, our moratoriums for the vape shops and the cannabis shops, we had a definition. You had a definition in which to say, this is the type of establishment, that's going to be the subject of a moratorium for 6 months while we work out what the zoning code is. What I am, I've got to get it, you've got to get a definition before we even get to the moratorium stage. And do we work off of what's in chapter 177? Do we look at other localities? We don't want, like I said, we don't want to put gyms in this, but how do you define what you want to do? And then once we get a definition that's workable, then you can look at putting a regulatory scheme in various chapters of the code. But I talked to the planners today, I talked to the zoning officer. We don't have a definite of what is referred to here, that wellness and spa is not a definition in our code, but we can work one out.
Mr. Woodbury?
Yeah, just to follow up. Ms. Dottorio mentioned during your presentation certificate of occupancy and certificate of use. It is my understanding that once a permit is pulled, inspection is done, then a clearance is given to occupy that space or building. So if you're opening a business, that should follow the protocol. So I'm not sure if a certificate of occupancy, or are you referring to a certificate of use?
I think
Occupancy, because a lot
not a
of them.
certificate of use.
The certificate of use is the more detailed.
Is the more
Right, it's a
detailed
more
one?
detailed one,
Yes.
but at this time, I'm being told that a lot of them are popping up without a certificate of occupancy.
But I think the certificate of use may get you where you want to go.
Yes. So that's why I want to clarify, certificate of occupancy, the permit holds that protocol in place for inspection, approval.
Right, fire safety, you know.
And then the certificate of use will follow in terms of the regulation once it's adopted.
Right,
I just want to clarify that.
absolutely,
Yes.
yes, because I don't think, the mayor, you wanted to make a point, Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. These businesses that are popping up are creating really some adverse situations. And there's been some arrests made in some adjacent communities. So that I would encourage the council to go forward on this. And is it, Mr. O'Reilly, what you're outlining is like a two-step process where you have to come up with a definition, but could you come up with a definition and incorporate it in the moratorium, so it's a one-step process where it's not reflected in the code until the end of the moratorium?
Right, Mayor. I mean, you could do it all one. The point, we could do a moratorium legislation, which you all did before. In that, it can have the definition. But what I want, you know, and that's the moratorium language we can build off of what we used previously. That's, but what I'd like to do is for a couple of weeks, you know, for our next cycle, to work on that definition, give you a definition, maybe work that into a moratorium piece of legislation where this is all going to fit, and give you a working draft
Right.
to look at.
That-
Just as a working draft, so you have a definition you can add to it, subtract to it, whatever.
That makes sense to me. Mr. Hurley?
Yeah, so I think the mayor's talking about some things that were happening, you said in some adjacent communities.
Yep.
And I think that was some real.
Well, Schenectady Police and State Police have made a similar arrest in the city of Schenectady.
Okay, at a spot. My question would be, where's the spa at that you're talking about, that you were saying?
I have reported it to our code department.
Okay, all right, so do you not want to say?
No, but
There's a number of them throughout.
He's asking you which, oh, you don't want to say which ones you reported?
Yeah, exactly. I don't think we should do that. Sorry. I don't think we should do that publicly, kind of call them one or two, because there's a lot. Sorry, it's me on tour.
Well, I just reflected back to when we had our smoke shop conversation. We were pretty descriptive, actually. We were saying there's one here, and there's one here, and one here. We were talking about that, so that's why I was asking about that, because I'm trying to get a better understanding. Okay.
All right, so, and the other thing I want to add to this conversation is that we're mentioning spas, and so there are places that you go that people, they call them spas, and people, women and men, go get their toes done, their nails done, and they're calling those spas. So I think that we have to be clear that what we're talking about, otherwise, you know, you're not going to be able to get your nails done. You know, because it was mentioned massage parlor and spas, so I think in our, whatever we put into the code, we have to be really clear.
Or you can, I'm just thinking, you just use the definition that you've, you know, work off of the definition in chapter 177.
Okay.
That will narrow it down to what you want to do.
Okay.
And it's already a regulated field via our code and as well as the state.
Right.
So we can work off of that, and maybe narrow it down so it doesn't go into areas that you all don't want to go into.
Right. And I want to ask one other question, Mr. O'Brien. So for individuals who are, they're licensed masseuses in wherever they work, does that particular place need the health department to come in and inspect at all?
I can't speak for the county health department, but they have to have a licensed masseuse is licensed and has to, by the state education department. They have to keep their requirements up and maintain to be licensed.
Okay, I'll look into that.
And if they're doing something without
Some of these businesses, Madam Chair, are positions of convenience, which technical review might require the Department of Health, might require the Department of State. Some I think are Department of Education, some of the licenses.
Right, I mean, this is all Department of Education masseuses. It's all It's one of the list of professions by state ed.
Yes.
So there.
Yes. Mr. Toro?
Thank you. So I just want to say, when we do with spas, you were talking about, we all go into spas, when we get our nails done or whatever. But always on the wall are their certificates, from New York State Department of Health, County Health Department, New York State Health Department. So everyone has their picture and things on there. So again, we don't want to, implement this on businesses that are doing, that are have certificates of use and certificates of occupancy. This is just to prevent businesses from popping up in the city that aren't quite legal. And legal in the sense that they're not registered with us. That's the only thing that I mean.
No.
Absolutely.
I didn't think you meant anything else. Mr. Rivera, do you have your hand up?
No, because, we can't blame them because we don't have it in the code. So that's what we're kind of doing, because I'm glad that it's being brought forward now in terms of moving forward for a certificate of use.
Well,
We don't have that in the code unlisted, this kind of business.
Well, we do.
So then why are we then even?
Well, we do, but it's not under certificate of use, and if you want to take it up and put it into zoning area, and what about areas that there is a licensed masseuse? That's, where do you want to have that?
So he's saying that we have like massage parlors in our code already, so, but what Mr. Toro says, so the certificate of occupancy happens, but she's asking for a certificate of use.
And
these
it's not a
particular
bad
things.
idea to put it in the zoning code. So, between the certificate of use and put that definition into the code, the zoning code as well.
Right. But right now, we don't have that there, so we
Right,
have to do that.
it's just in that one chapter.
The next step. Is your hand up, Mr.?
Yeah, just question. And we were just talking about actual brick and mortars, or are we talking about people who go to people's houses? What is
That's also illegal.
Yeah.
It should be any practice massage. It doesn't, any person's, it's just the application of a scientific system of activity to the, it goes through a whole definition. But it also has certain exemptions under the code.
I'm pretty sure that in New York State that they have traveling masseuses. There's people who pack up and go to people's houses. That's a traveling masseuse.
Right, but they need to still be licensed.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes, without a question.
Because the issue is you've got to be licensed.
Right.
That's the key under our code and under the state law.
So that's my question. So, but we're not. So obviously, are we saying that there's people who are doing this right now? The question is that they're not licensed massage therapists. Yeah, and they're doing this, and is there a difference between a masseuse and massage therapist too? Is that an important distinction to make?
Well, the arrests have been made under prostitution. So,
Well, that's definitely against the law.
Okay.
And to your,
We're already pretty clear that that's all right.
and Mr. Farley, masseuse, or massage shed service, or pursuant to the state education law, are all grouped together under the practice. They're interchangeable.
Yes, Mr. Mutuvaran.
Oh, your hands were up.
Well, that's okay.
So since we're talking about reforming this to zoning, should we consider location, like how we did with the smoke shops and, this kind of business?
I think
In terms of zoning location for these type of business?
I think what we need to do is probably work with the planners and the zoning officer, and then work with the definition, and then get a moratorium framework together, and then come back to you.
Okay. All right. Ms. Patrick, you have
That's exactly what I was going to, I was just going to remind us that council had suggested that. And I think it's important to remember that we're trying to, this would be to try to make sure that folks are legal. And also I think the health aspect is very important, that those two things that Mr. Toro mentioned. So.
Okay, so Mr. O'Brien, what time frame would you?
Let's give it a go for 2 weeks. I mean, the next next Monday committee cycle, and give it a go and see what we can present to you.
Okay. So Mr. Toro, this is going to come back in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, the final items have to do with property sales, and so therefore we have to go into executive session.
Make a motion to go into executive session.
All right. I need a second for the executive session.
So,
All those in favor? Aye. We are in executive session, and members of the public will have to leave.
I will be right back.
Okay. Over here.
yeah, it's,